Good morning, everyone. I hope you had a good evening with the beer festival. It was okay for you? Yes? Okay. Welcome to this plenary session. Several personalities are going to speak today. Then we will have a roundtable discussion and finally 15 minutes to answer your questions. This morning topic, systemic approach for advanced materials to 2030. I would like to welcome Joanna Drake, who will accompany you throughout this morning. Joanna Drake, your applause, please. I wish you a good meeting. See you later.
Thank you very much. Bonjour tout le monde. How are you? Hope you had a good night yesterday. But this morning, we're back to the serious stuff. And it's a great pleasure to chair this plenary session this morning. The Systemic Approach for Advanced Materials 2030 Perspective. Sounds heavy, but I know that there's a lot of excitement around this. And the roadmap, the Materials 2030 roadmap, will be presented this morning. This is the first deliverable of the Materials 2030 Manifesto. Commissioner Gabriel yesterday, you may recall, also mentioned this, but she mentioned this in early February. The roadmap has been made available on the website already a week ago. But today, we actually have, the luxury of 1.5 hours with the researchers, with the innovators, and with the conceptualizers, if you like, of this roadmap here with us to explain in more detail what the vision is. And I think, our big devoir, our big responsibility is to actually try to map out the options for the next steps. And I think this is the challenge. But first, we need to understand what the roadmap is about. So the authors, and some of them are here in this session today, clearly indicated that this is a draft roadmap in order to allow more stakeholders to come in. And the draft roadmap is, after all, an invitation for us to act. An invitation to acknowledge that there's a lot of intelligence already gathered and that we need now to use it, to deploy it, to do something with it. And we need to engage in practical cases that the new model of the 2030 materials commons can actually work. Now, against this background, I have a very good impressive lineup of speakers here today. So there's Lars Montelius, who will be joining us first, the director of the International Iberian Nanotechnology Laboratory, the host of the Euro Nano Forum in Braga, Portugal, in May of this year, and one of the signatories of the Materials 2030 Manifesto from last February. We have with us Anne-Chloé de Vic, Innovation Manager from the European Chemical Industry Council, CEFIC, representing SUSCHEM, the European Technology Platform of Sustainable Chemistry. We have Eric Peters, Vice President of Dow Chemicals and Chairman of the Energy Materials Industry Research Initiative, EMIRI. José Caldera Carlos, who's a member of the Board of Directors of INESC Tech in Portugal. He is a member of the Manufutur High-Level Group and chairman of its National and Regional Technology Platforms Group. And Amaya Irgatua, who's the co-secretary of the European Technology Platform on Advanced Engineering Materials and Technology. Let's already give them a round of applause, please, all of you. And I really look forward to your presentations and also the panel discussion. So I would like to, first of all, invite here with me Lars Montelius. Please join me. He will be giving us a presentation, a 15-minute presentation of the roadmap. And after each speaker, there will be a question that I will ask. But I will now move to the side in order to give the spotlight to Lars. So Lars, it's in your hands.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So good morning, everyone. So this slide is on, I think. Yes, good, very good. So it's a great honor to be able now to present to you the Materials 2030 initiative, which is built on the Materials 2030 manifesto that a group, together with me, had the pleasure to work on during the last autumn. And the origin for that was a roundtable discussion that we had at the Euro Forum that happened 1 year ago, principally. And in that discussion, in that roundtable discussion, we spoke about the necessities to try to capture the potential or the opportunities that are out there as a consequence of the green digital transition. The kind of challenge that we are having in the world in order to secure that we can actually have a planet to live on in the future. So based on that kind of discussion, we worked very hard over the autumn, and then in February it was presented the Materials Manifesto. Just to let me to have an idea, how many of you have seen the Materials Manifesto? Can you raise your hand? Okay, I have a strong spotlight in my eyes, but I think it's about 75% of the audience. That is great. So I will start by giving, let me see, here is it. So I'll take the next slide. So this is the vision that the European Materials Manifesto came forward with. And I would like us to read this a bit with some concern, because it was not done over, let's say, an hour or so. It took some time. So there are a lot of messages in this kind of vision. So I read it very slowly. A strong European materials ecosystem. Here's the first thing, ecosystem. To drive the green and digital transition, that is what we know, alongside a sustainable, inclusive European society. Sustainable, inclusive European society. 4 very important words. Through systemic collaboration between upstream developers, downstream users, and citizens, and all stakeholders in between. So if you think about this, you really understand the inclusiveness. This is for us. It is for us, the European citizens, to work together in order to take care about opportunities that comes from the challenges that we're having. The challenges that I think mankind has not had before, which is really about let's call it the sustainability. We need to take care about our planet. We cannot continue to use resources on a credit line. We need to use the resources on a positive side. So here is a big challenge, right? So why? I mean, one of the first components of this is, of course, that materials, they are the backbone and they are the source of an industrial society or a prosperity of society. So everything is based on materials, and we all learn in school, I mean, the Stone Age, the Bronze Age, etc., all was based on our ability to master materials at different scales. And now we are in this advanced materials society, and this gives us enormous possibilities, but we need to capture these enormous possibilities and do it in a sustainable way. So this is the outline, so to say, right? So this is the kind of background for the Materials 2030 initiative, which is the follow-up of the manifesto. Okay. So the second thing that was kind of the basic for the manifesto, I mean, the first thing was the materials. Materials is the key. The second thing is, of course, our grand challenges. And we already spoke about them. We spoke about them yesterday in many sessions. So it's all about, we are at a tipping point. And it's all about start to not talk the talk, but walk the talk. Now it's really not about lip service. It's not about whitewashing. It's really to engage, to make things green. And if we do this really united, then Europe has a chance to be the role model for this new initiative of creating prosperity for the planet, not of the planet, but for the planet and for the people, for prosperity. And if we do this correct, we can only do it in one way, and that is to do with united. So united means, of course, united between people, but also between organizations. It's united among the member states of Europe. It's united in all perspectives. It's also about the digitalization per se and how the digitalization can help us to develop new kind of materials using new models of digitalization, like AI, different kind of quantum computation, etc. All these things needs to be there united in order to drive the development further. So these are the kind of basic steps for the Materials Initiative. So now, let's go to the Materials 2030 Initiative. So, first thing, why? Safeguarding Europe's technology leadership. We need to secure that Europe and European industries will be in the forefront in the future. If not, we may lack, and we may not be able to prosper Europe the way we have done previously. So there is a big opportunity to actually capture these new opportunities that will exist. Reducing the environmental footprint, it's absolutely a necessity. We cannot avoid that. All of us need to do that. And it goes from every kind of citizen to take a decision whether you should actually take an airplane or you should go with a train, to the industrial complex about how to actually make things more green. And of course, things will not happen over one day. It's a strategy. It's a long, long way forward. But doing in a good perspective, then we have the chance to actually enable to Europe to get the leadership in this way. You could even think about having kind of a, let's call it a green seal or something like that on European products or processes, with the processes are equally important as the products. And it has to be the citizen that should be in the center. So it's really about the need and expectations of us as citizens. So we are not, the citizens are needed to be invited, to be included in this perspective in order to secure that we are actually developing things that are needed in society and that our citizens, the generations living here, will accept it. So it's very important to bring all people together. Then it's about securing, of course, the Europe's strategic autonomy, right? And this we have been discussing many, many times. I think COVID was a wake-up call. Now the Ukrainian unrest and the war going on in Europe is another warning clock, I think, really pointing that we really need to have secured our supply chains. We need to have an autonomy in Europe. We need to be less dependent on other countries. But it doesn't mean that Europe should put up fences and it's Europe against others. It's Europe together with others. But Europe should be in the leadership position. We should be the leaders. We should develop the things that others will take copies of together with others. We can never do it alone. So I think this is the, let's say, the why, and then comes, of course, the how. And these are, as Joanna very much pointed out before, this is a draft. This is not a final thing. This is a draft, this is a document that people have been working with over the spring, and we're presenting it here today, and its inclusiveness is the most important thing. So we like your views, we like you to be engaged. So the how is to drive cross-sectoral industrial innovation by supporting new applications across all industry sectors. Think about that, all industry sectors. Paving the way for engagement of all advanced material stakeholders. This means everything from blue sky research, applied research, industrial research, development, and the kind of deployment of products and services in the market. Fostering collaboration based on common grounds between stakeholders, the materials commons, to create more sustainable products through material-based technology. If you think about the kind of undertaking that we are proposing, a kind of a materials commons, a kind of a society, an ecosystem, where all the Europeans are invited to be part of, we do not really have that instrument yet. So we may be able to create a new instrument, a new materials commons instrument, or use many of the instruments already available and combine them. These are open questions that we need to discuss. How will we do this? How will we implement the Materials 2030 initiative? And then the fourth thing, addressing all value chains and innovation markets for planet, people, and prosperity. Equally important, all three, and inclusive. So it's not one in front of the other. They're all equally important. So this is the how. Then what we have been doing over this the last months or so is that we asked the 4 European technology platforms that have heavy engagement in materials and in industrial technologies for materials to work on the vision from the manifesto and to develop further what are the thoughts about these innovation markets. And it was 9 innovation markets that have been addressed and looked upon in great detail by the 4 technology platforms. We will hear more about that later today in the panel discussion. The initiative, the document now, the draft document, it's very detailed. It's about a 100-page document that goes through these innovation markets and show the similarity or the commons between different innovation markets when it comes down to a specific material or material system or a process, production methodology, whatever it is. So it shows out the commonalities. It shows out the different things that are common. And we do this because we think to develop innovative things in silos, we do not have the time for that. We need to do it together, integrated, cross-sectorial between the different silos. So the innovation markets are there. Everything is about materials for sustainability. Again, for people, for the planet, and for prosperity. So, to boil it down in something, we have combined this slide, which is kind of a busy slide. It shows 2 sides, the green side and the yellow side. The green side is the combination of digital technologies revolutionizing research development methodologies. This is very important. So it's to use all the available methodologies that we have in order to accelerate research and development activities, in order to foster new SMEs that can supply new services to our industries, in order to deploy new technologies to the industries, in order to use the new technologies in the industries for the manufacturing, for the capabilities that we need. So that's on one side. Other side, materials development, production and processes. It creates new and very novel opportunities. And if we capture these 2 things, we will have some benefits. We have listed 6 benefits here. Accelerating advanced materials development for Europe's innovation markets. Rather obvious, but very important. Low resource utilization, energy efficiency, and decarbonization of materials processing. Super important. Industry-ready processes and technologies for establishing circular value chains in Europe. It goes without saying. Alternative advanced materials processing solutions, increased product customization, warranty, and labeling. Here, warranty and labeling are key elements. The right labeling will enable European products to be more competitive, to be more green than other products, which will enable a stronger capture of the value chains and the markets. Support product traceability and life cycle management. So I think these are 6 very important benefits that we can expect if, again, we work united. And Europe has the chance to work united. We are strong together. So the building blocks, to make it very simple, it contains three parts, which is the main part of the house, if you like. The materials digitalization, the materials scaling up, and the material priority areas. So these are necessities. And then on top of that, we need to have an inclusive governance. And here again, it's a new form of cooperation. It's something that we have playing with words, calling like the materials commons. And why that? Well, it's a new thing. It's a new kid on the block. We need something new because this is a gigantic undertaking to integrate, to have an inclusive approach for all the different stakeholders in Europe to come together. Then, of course, the connecting the blue sky research with the applied research and with the market demands. So it's really a necessity to be united. It's not about having tech push or tech pull as 2 different poles, but really to work together, united again. the pull and the push united. And then, of course, policy recommendations. There will be need for plenty of these policy recommendations, and it should be based on scientific findings, understandings, in order to drive the policies forward. Okay, so now the next steps and timeline. So we believe we are in the inception phase, or we have been living in the inception phase since last year at the Euro Forum. We have done the Materials Manifesto. We have now published a draft of the Materials 2030 roadmap, the Materials 2030 initiative, and we are now presenting it to you. We have reached out to the European Commission. We have spoke with a high-level group in the member states in February. We have members that are signing up. It has been on web pages. People would have had a chance to say, I would like to know a little bit more about this. And we are starting now to establish a strategy, and we have the presentation today. So what we need now in the immediate future is to set up an interim coordination group. The people that have been working in the spring has been roughly 60, 70, 80 individuals working together in digital meetings. And of course, it has been a fantastic job being carried out. But to take the next steps, we need some kind of coordination group, some kind of operational group, which consists of less people. So we can not take decisions on top of others, but to move things forward and then have a sounding board with all the stakeholders in order to secure that we do the things right. Then we should now in the future identify the best implementation instruments through a broad consultation of key stakeholders, including member states. And here it's important to emphasize it's all the member states. So it's all the 27 member states that are invited, and all the citizens of the 27 member states that are invited to take part. So further stakeholder engagement, we need to set up let's say, the instrument in order to onboard stakeholders. Because it's one thing is that you as a stakeholder will say, I would like to know more, but let's say the coordination group need to now develop the tool that will actually reach out and give more information and make people to be included, to listen to the different views and to set up these systems. So there is a need for a governance, and this governance is different from, I would say, a standard governance. So it's much more inclusive, much more holistic, much more things to think about, but also a fantastic challenge and an interesting way forward. So then, by the autumn of this year, we should have these things ready. And then we are thinking that depending on the instruments, maybe there will be some very new instrument developed, who knows? Or there will be some instrument that we can start with, or some kind of partnership or whatever. This is very open, and it should be discussed, and it should be really penetrated very well, thought through. And then we can start to do the real execution by next year, 2023, sometime. So I think now in the autumn, it's really the engagement phase. Get all of you included, listen to all your perspectives, listen to all the best practices, trying to understand what is the mechanisms that we need to implement in order to be able to do this. And I think we have no alternative not doing this, because if we do not do this, we are missing probably one of the biggest chances in, let's say, the European history the last 100 years. So with these words, I will end by just showing who has been the different organizations behind this. To the left side, you see the 4 European technology platforms. It's EMIRI, EUMAT, SUSCEM, and the Money Futures. And then on the right side, you see the signatories of the manifesto. These are 7 different signatories there that primarily worked on the manifesto during the autumn. So with these words, I would like to end. And if you're interested, I invite you to use the web address that you see here, and you can send an email to info@AME2030EU. And to the right, you see the logo that were created for this Advanced Materials Initiative. So with those words, I wish and I hope you all will join up so we can have a united approach And thank you very much. And then the word back to you, Joanna.
Thank you very much, Lars. I invite you to stay here because I'm not going to let you go before asking a question. Okay, so thank you so much for making it sound, very comprehensive, very linked up, future-proof, I would say, giving us a window of opportunity, making that as a very important point, plus the united part. Yes, we can if we're united. And I think we have given proof in recent events, worldwide events, but other also more local and regional, that we can stand together. And solidarity, I think, is the middle name of the European Union. But more precisely, you have mentioned blue sky research. At the same time, both in the manifesto and the roadmap, you sort of have an approach of the value chain. And how do you link one with the other?
Good question. And a very nice question. So blue sky research, it's absolutely essential in order to have applied research later in time. So we need a blue sky research that is kind of without boundaries, idea-based, based on possibilities, and then developing things. And it has to be high risk. Many of these ideas that will be kind of developed or looked into would fail. I mean, there will not be a solution out there, but we need this work in order to connect to the applied research that then will lead into more startup companies or more applied research within and together with the industry, and then connecting to the different value chains. So the research is not only about the final product, it's also about all the components in the value chain. It could be about the logistic chains, it could be about using blockchain in order to have a label or some kind of marking of different services, right? So it's really to use all the digital technologies that we have available and look into all the different value chains. Sometimes I think we have a tendency to think that the blue sky research is for the, let's say, the end product. And it's probably true that the blue sky researcher are kind of addressing a certain kind of market or addressing a certain kind of demand or a need they have identified, which would ultimately lead to a product. But the blue sky research is much more than that. So, and it's an absolute necessity in the European fabric. Without that, we would not have the technologies that we need in the future.
Thank you very much, Lars. Thank you for that. I invite you either to sit down here or just take a front seat as you prefer. But we are going to have a panel discussion later. Well, before I introduce the next speaker, who will be Eric Peters, I just want to remind you, we will have 10 to 15 minutes at the end dedicated to answering your questions from the panel. So there is the Slido. We invite you already to, I think they can already start putting questions in, am I right? Yes. So please do not forget that. I'll be reminding you from time to time as we go along with the speakers. So with that, I would like to invite Eric Peters from Emory. So, Eric, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Joanna. Well, hello everybody, good morning. It's a real pleasure to be here to speak about such a great topic as advanced materials and what they could really mean for society. So I'm representing EMIRI today. So EMIRI has actually been around 10 years. Some of you may have seen that we celebrated our 10th anniversary yesterday. And EMIRI was set up 10 years ago to really stimulate transversal collaboration for advanced. Okay, this works again. And I think the context at the time was that Europe was embarking on the energy transition, the SET plan, and we saw an opportunity to bring materials research together across all actors, academia, RTOs, industry, and other associations, that had a common goal to enable that, to influence the roadmaps, and to really work hard together with the Commission to make that transition happen. The context has changed quite a bit in the last 10 years. So we are now suddenly waking up in a much more complex world. We have a very ambitious European Green Deal. We're really worried about energy security. We're worried about material security. We're worried about advanced material security. You know, we no longer make very important devices in Europe like smartphones and semiconductors, and there is a lot of action going on to try to improve that. You know, we also need to become circular. We heard a lot about that in this convention already. And advanced materials are very much the solution for all of these challenging and complex problems. But these solutions, these advanced materials, have to meet a lot of criteria. They have to be safe and sustainable by design. The technical complexity is really becoming more and more complex, right? These are not easy solutions and devices that our materials go into, so the technical demand on those materials are becoming really challenging. Coming back to Lars's point, if we don't have the blue sky research to do some of the basic invention first to then convert them into advanced materials, we will go nowhere. And the materials, of course, have to have a low footprint. They have to be low in carbon, they have to be low in water usage. You know, we have to worry about biodiversity and many other dimensions. So this is the time to do much more transversal collaboration, to remove some of the inefficiencies, to remove some of the duplication, and to try to be all together and work on these solutions. And when I'm speaking about solutions, I'm not only speaking about a technical solution for a technical problem. The right solutions will also really improve competitiveness in Europe and will give Europe the opportunity to create a competitive, globally competitive advanced materials industry. You know, because we are very, very good at doing research. We're very good at sometimes commercializing the research in the initial phase. We are then not so good historically to keep the resulting industry and the jobs in Europe. So there is also that part that is very important, and that's why EMIRI has always been an industry-driven organization. So I love the manifesto. I think it's the right way to go. This is the time to collaborate. It's the time to invite all of you to collaborate with us. It's an invitation to act, as Joanna said at the beginning. It's an invitation to participate, as Lars mentioned. So please, you know, go to that really nice AMI 2030, I'll say it in French, website. We're all friends together, working hard to implement that 2030 roadmap, you know, hopefully soon, because this is what Europe needs. Thank you very much.
Eric, thank you very much, first of all. I also have a question for you. You have spoken about security a lot, and I see that the flip side of that is actually working on our autonomy or independence in Europe. We've heard these terms a lot in recent contexts, especially vis-à-vis fossil fuels. But do you see that advanced materials have a relevance to Europe's independence as well? And do you think that the private sector industry will engage in the roadmap and the manifesto? How do you see it?
It's a great question. I'll start with the last part. So private sector and you know, large companies, multinational like Dow that I'm working for, absolutely ready to engage. I mean, we are taking the sustainability journey super serious, right? Decarbonizing, becoming circular, which literally means spending billions of dollars in new technology investments, you know, new types of manufacturing plants, etc. It's absolutely going to happen. I think one of the reasons that the private sector is also going to engage is that we know we have the technology solutions to enable some of those applications in the market. And I think security is going to be very important, because I think a large bloc like the EU will not be able to guarantee its independence if we don't make a number of essential goods ourselves. Let me take 5G as an example. So 5G is really part of the digital revolution. You can include 6G or 7G, you know, what is coming next. But I think that let's say, total inclusion of electronics in everything we do, you know, the Internet of Things, connecting everything, is a key part of making society more efficient. It's actually a key part of the solution for decarbonization. I'll give a very simple example. If you have 10 autonomously driving trucks driving 1 meter apart from each other with only a driver in the first truck, and they drive in a column like that, enabled by, of course, 5G connections, everything wirelessly hooked up, you know, lots of advanced sensors and antennas that all need advanced materials to keep the lifetime and protect them, that column of trucks is going to consume 40% less fuel and have 40% less carbon emissions, even with internal combustion engines like today, than if those trucks would drive separately. On top of that, they will take up only a third of the space, so it also helps with congestion. Now, do we really want to be dependent on other nations for that type of technology? Maybe not. So I think we have to find that common ground where, you know, where the European technology can be deployed, where we can continue to collaborate with other geographies. It's really important, I think, especially also for multinationals, where some of that technology comes into Europe as well, but where we also keep some of that manufacturing here. I took 5G as an example. I could have talked about, you know, renewable energy. I could have talked about energy efficient buildings, you know, LED lighting, so many other applications, but I thought this was a compelling example.
Thank you. That's great. Great that you actually, you know, really concretized the example and the transversality also of the concept. So thank you so much for helping us also visualize the impact of the advanced materials coming together, if you like, of these actions. So thank you, Eric. Our next speaker is from Suschem, and she is Anne-Chloé Devic. Am I getting your name right, Devic? Is it Devic or Devic? Yes, Devic. So, Anne-Chloé, the floor is yours.
Good morning, all. I'm honored to represent Suschem today for this wonderful initiative on materials, Advanced Materials Initiative 2030. Suschem, as you would know, is a technology platform existing since 2004. It's been supported by the European Commission since the beginning. Sustainable chemistry, it says it all. As you know, chemistry is used in every processes and products, virtually in all applications, value chains, innovation markets. I mean, we have 9 in this initiative that everything is almost covered, but we can still develop further applications. Academia and industry collaborate closely together in Suschem. It's very much industry-driven too, like Emery. And we deliver every few years along the framework programs strategic research agendas. So we used to, until the last agenda from 2019, to divide our challenges and solutions into processes, a block on processes, a block on materials, and cross-cutting topics like digital and sustainability. Now, we have the new safe and sustainable by design concept. You would reckon that it's new, but not that new, because safety has been embedded also in sustainability. But now we are looking for developing an innovation process which is looking for more structure and coupling the safety criteria together with the other sustainability criteria. The founding members are mainly from the academia, and together with CEFIC, so the Chemical Industry European Council representing all chemical companies, and Europa Bio, the biotech companies. I think it's very important that we link chemistry with biology for the future materials. Bio-based materials, but not only using biocatalysis, I think is a very important element for materials. Then we have searched for sustainable materials in all the different innovation markets, and they are well defined in the Materials Manifesto. This is why we are supporting this initiative, and we like it very much. And it is important because we wish to address the different markets where there is a society demand for not only safe and sustainable by design that I mentioned before, but for a better performance. We are looking for added value, new functionalities. We want materials technologies to be developed as as an enabling technology, and we want to develop new, very innovative materials which will go into different value chains. And I think that will be very important in the Materials Manifesto too. A major justification which has been mentioned before is the need for a resilient Europe. So part of the agenda for resilience is the material scarcity and the need for resource efficiency, so also a very important pillar. And we welcome this very strong technology focus. The Suschem board fully endorsed the initiative, and what was already mentioned, we are looking to collaborate further with many other stakeholders, all of you, the society too, and we will be working in the next few months in developing a governance proposal and deepening the research needs and fitting the requirements for industry competitiveness. So this is it.
Thank you very much, Anne-Chloé. Thank you for that. I also have a question for you. You have spoken about the importance of investing in materials that are safe and sustainable by design. But I imagine, you would be also asking for incentives for this in order to invest in this. What sort of incentives would, get the spark going? And also, out of the 9 innovation markets that have been identified, which are the ones you think would be the most viable?
Yeah, we've been debated a lot about the specific needs for safe and sustainable by design and the materials manifesto, but we think this should be embedded. In fact, it should be a unique materials agenda, and we should just make sure follow the framework which has been proposed, or a framework that we propose. That implies extra research. I think the research needs are huge. So I guess we will, the chemical industry has a specific agenda linked with the chemical strategy for sustainability. Whether we are asking for a specific funding program linked to the CSS, which, for example, will be needed tools for predictive toxicology, for example. So that would be maybe a part. So that there would be one, I would say, one block for specific to the CSS, and then the materials manifesto embedding the safe and sustainable by design, which definitely will imply also, again, digital tools like materials acceleration platform for screening all the sustainability criteria. So yes, I mean, like we've done always in SUSCHEM, we will be developing an agenda for this. So together with the other stakeholders, obviously, on the materials. But yes, definitely the research and innovation needs are huge.
Thank you very much, Anne-Chloé. Thank you.
Thank you.
I invite you also to take a seat with your colleagues now as well. In the meantime, there already have been a number of questions coming in on Slido, so thank you very much for that. But I invite you to become even more active so that we give a lot to do to our panelists. In the meantime, I would also like to now invite the next speaker, and that is José Carlos Caldera from Manu Future. José Carlos, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's a great pleasure for me to represent here the Manufacture platform, an initiative, a platform already existing from 2004, and that is particularly looking at the challenges of the entire European manufacturing industry. So we are not looking to specific sectors, we are looking precisely on these challenges that are more cross-sectorial, and this is particularly relevant for this work, as it was mentioned, because we are looking also at cross-sectorial challenges in terms of materials and technologies. And what is clear for our community, for European industries, that materials are a key theme for manufacturing Europe. We need to use less materials, as it was mentioned, of any kind. We need to use fewer primary materials. We need to use more recycled materials. We need to develop alternative materials. And also we need to produce less waste. And from a market pool perspective, we need to develop and produce all these materials, and also to use them in the several manufacturing sectors. And we have to do that in a competitive and sustainable way. And of course, we need to do all that at the same time. So it's, as was mentioned, it's a big challenge. So this calls for a significant effort to develop the new and advanced materials, but also to develop the processes or to modify the existing ones, including product design, engineering, manufacturing, dismantling, disassembling, etc. And of course, this can only be achieved with a strong collaboration between materials and the production and digital communities and initiatives already existing. And we also need to combine the development of advanced materials with the development or adaptation of the respective digital and production technologies, particularly when we are talking about the higher TRL levels, to be able to reduce the time to market of the complete solutions and follow what was already described as a value chain approach. So this is not so critical in the lower TRLs when you are talking about the blue sky research, but when you are talking about the applied research and look into concrete markets, this joint development of the materials and the technology needed to do the uptake and to scale up is very important. And we also need to give higher priority to the use of secondary materials and to the development of highly efficient disassembly and dismantling processes to reinforce the real implementation of circular economy models. And precisely because these dismantling and disassembling processes are perhaps today one of the weakest links in this entire chain. And also, finally, it's also important to highlight the fact that the machinery, equipment, and automation and robotics sector is also a leader in innovation market for advanced materials, and this opportunity will be for sure explored also in the near future. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Jose Carlos. May I ask you a question? Manufacturers and materials usually work on the same page, and they do not work, with different areas. But do we need more cooperation with other partnerships, across with other partnerships? And in that case, which ones? Yeah,
for sure. First of all, I think it's important to highlight the fact that these communities have already been collaborating. So companies are working very close together, of course, but if we're talking about more the initiatives, the research communities, we have already been collaborating. And for example, Manifuture is a member of the Materials Alliance, so we have been doing that. But as it was mentioned, we are going through new times. And these new times brings new challenges and ambitions and the urgency and the dimension and the complexity of this endeavor combined with the speed of the technological development, which has these two things that coming together, call for a completely new level of collaboration between the materials, the production technologies, and the digital technologies. And we need to really implement this value chain approach. We need to come together, covering the materials development, processing, and scale-up process completely. And this is the only way we can actually have a real impact in the European industry. And we are able to build an economy that is really competitive, sustainable, and resilient, and, as it was mentioned, sovereign, because we need to be sovereign in the entire value chain, not only in one part of this. Of course, this will bring naturally new challenges for the stakeholders from our side. Namely in terms of mobilization, as it was mentioned, but also in governance. This becomes a bit more complex, but I think we have to do it. We have to do it. And this collective work that we have done already, that's going to be presented today, done between communities that didn't have this so close practice of doing it, and in such short time, I think it's a first sign that we understood the challenges that industry is facing. And also, we understood our responsibility to work together to come up with a solution. So I think that I'm really, let's say, motivated for this work because we feel that we are really contributing to solve a challenge, a problem that industry has, and it's our obligation to do it correctly. Thank you.
Thank you for bringing up also the question about responsibility and the fact that you're all here today. I think it's really a very good show, and a real one, not a superficial one, that you are taking on your responsibilities together. And I think we really have a very tough act to follow and to support here. So thank you very much for that. Okay, again, I remind you about Slido. The questions are coming in. There's one which is really like top, am I right? The one that's got 9. The EEC is the body that shall or does take the initiative. Thus, what kind of action will be taken by the European Commission to implement the AMI 2030? Oh, that's no surprise that we're going to get that question, by the way, and it's the one that's most popular. So we'll get to that, however, a little bit later. But before we do that, we have another speaker, and I'd like to introduce her. Her name is Amaya Igartua. And she comes from EU MAT. So, Amaya, she's a co-secretary of the European Technology Platform on Advanced Engineering Materials and Technologies, EU MAT. So, Amaya, floor is yours.
Hello. It is an honor for me to represent the EUMAT platform today and the contribution that we have been making in this Manifesto 2030. First of all, EUMAT was also created in 2004 as a platform of materials in order to serve the European Commission to drive the future priorities. And also, later on, we facilitated the creation of Alliance for Materials in order to approach the value chain and also collaborate to other materials stakeholders or interested developing some products. Then EUMAT fully support the manifesto and also the innovation market concepts, because the possibility to drive the pathway to the markets could facilitate the research uptake to the final products and also the creation of jobs. Then, with EUMAT and Alliance for Materials, wide competencies, we pull it, and we have been able to contribute to all the innovation markets, from health through building to electronics, in close cooperation with the other ETPs. And this is a very important point of the ability of co-creation between different platforms in a unique roadmap. And this is has been made with the contribution of more than 70 stakeholders and authors, that 50% of them are from industry. It is not so easy to bring the experts from the industries and involve them in the construction of the future. And this has been done a reality with this Materials Manifesto. While involving in the 9 innovation markets, we look into market pool, the technology push, the societal needs, and the societal challenge for the future. Based on expert opinions, priority research needs has been identified, and also one of the EUMAT messages is that we found large commonalities between the different innovation markets. That means that if we develop a priority research area or some on the innovation markets, this can be aligned to the benefits of other innovation markets. And if we establish these synergies, these links between the needs of the innovation markets, we can accelerate the uptake of research activities for introducing in products and processes. Then, as consequently, EUMAT fully supports the new initiative for reaching a good governance of research and innovation of advanced materials and technologies, prioritizing funding research needs, combining with data and technology sharing across the societal challenge, and this innovation market will create synergies and broad benefits of European challenge and European sovereignty. EUMAT is ready to participate.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Amaya. You have been mentioning these priority areas for research, which are identified in part 2 of the roadmap. Maybe you can throw a bit of light for us of how you have arrived to these 9 innovation markets, how the platforms and all these priorities you have arrived at. How did you get to them?
Thank you very much for this question, because we have been, let's say, working in all the innovation markets. But what we did is that first each platform selected which innovation market would like to be involved with. And with that, it was nominated a responsible platform for each innovation market. Then each platform consulting their steering committee members to set up the priorities. Through Alliance for Materials, also, we approached all the value chain, and we involved complementary platforms and material stakeholders interested in textile, construction, ECP in packaging, and also Matterplat, and Materials Modeling Council and Characterization Council. Then the next step is that the platform coordinator of each materials innovation market organizes a meeting in order to select the priorities, and involving all the platform interested in these innovation markets. Once decide the priorities between us, we present it to the European Commission in order to validate if we are in the right direction. Then the priorities were presented, and once agreed, a detailed description about the material challenge, the impact in EU sovereignty for the environment, the society, and prosperity was addressed. The platform appointed high level of experts, being most of in most of the innovation markets being led by industry. And I think that is very important in order to drive the future and to assure that the research activities in Europe will be on the position of offer solution for the industry. Thank you.
Thank you, Amaya. And I invite you also to join your colleagues on the panel chairs. I think I ought to give you a, yeah, okay. I think I will address you from here, but I would first like to have a look, give a round of applause to the speakers. First of all, please. Number one. I think we are making good time. We have about 27 minutes to the end of the session. So we do have time to answer the questions. And it's good because we have quite a lot of questions coming in from Slido. I would invite you still to keep getting them. But before I get to that, I would like to have a very quick round, very quick, telegraphic, and asking a couple of questions to the panel. I'm going to ask you one which is a bit maybe embarrassing, but maybe not. Who do you think are the missing stakeholders that we don't have here and that we need still? Because we did say we want to consult broadly, we want more people on board. This is an opportunity, it's a window, it's a time to unite, it's a time to take hold of our future and do it together, come together, work in a different way. Who are the stakeholders in your view, telegraphically, that are missing? That's number one. Number two, I'm going to ask you as well, the Green Deal and your particular industry. Which industries would you say could showcase for the Green Deal within your industry? Which part of your personal showcase in your industry could be a good manifestation of the Green Deal? So, who would like to start? Lars?
Absolutely. I think
you don't have to look at me, look at the audience. You just listen to my voice.
Thank you. So I think the missing party, so to say, are the citizens. I mean, we are all citizens. We all participate in the different platforms, etc. We are working in industries, research organizations, universities, but the citizens in the roads, right? In the shops where we meet them, the people buying things. So consumer organizations, we need to involve the consumer organizations, labor organizations, and these other things that we usually do not work with. And I think that is what we need to do in order to be inclusive. So that's one thing. Second thing about what are the markets. I think one of the biggest markets that, in my mind, I would like to see a big change of is the way we actually eat the food. So more healthy food, less meat, more kind of vegetarian, more new kind of ways to handle food in order to secure safe and sustainable food production, reducing the carbon footprint.
Thank you, Lars, for the very clear answers. So citizens, labour organisations eat less meat, and it's the food industry, therefore, that we need to showcase more for the Green Deal. Eric?
Two stakeholders, I think, to mention. I first want to, congratulate my colleagues on the collaborations. I think we, it's great to work together between 4 platforms, I think, maybe for the first time in this way, and get to this manifesto roadmap. I think I'm also going to mention citizens, but maybe from a slightly different dimension. I think we need to bring citizens along. We cannot have a green or a digital revolution that is only for the happy few. So it's really important that we don't leave anybody behind. One specific element that I'm also worried about, being in the chemical industry, is that citizens are typically afraid of advanced solutions. Citizens are afraid of 5G, citizens are afraid of chemicals. And that is really strange, because almost everything we feel and touch has had a contribution from the chemical value chain. I think it's more than 95% of everything. So I think bringing citizens along, education, telling the story properly, I think is very important. The other stakeholders that I think are very important, it was mentioned already a couple of times, is the member states. I think great collaboration between the 4 platforms to get to the point where we are. Now we need to invite everybody to the table, and I think the member states are going to be very important to bring this forward and make this roadmap, really come into something that adds value and is live. I think my kind of personal example is, I'm going to refer back to the chemical industry and what I said up there. This is the biggest transformation ever in the chemical industry. We came from a background of having only fossil resources, a huge carbon footprint, and a totally linear economy. And where we are going is non-fossil, 100% circular, with a 0 footprint. So it's an enormous challenge, and we are ready to take it on.
Thank you, Eric. So the citizens, we have to bring them along because they need to be with us, convinced also that, not to make them scared, that they're really on board. And I would say affordability as well. I think that is something that we need to also settle the minds. Anne-Chloé, what would your take be?
Right, so yes, I agree with the citizens. Now is how do we get to the citizens? In SUSCHEM we have 17 national platforms, so we have very good relays in the member states, and I think that's a good way to facilitate the reaching out to citizens, and SMEs also, I think, should be also part of the initiative. That's what would be my comment. And on the showcase, it's not a consumer product, but everyone sees them, is the wind blades. So it's the energy sector, chemical industries involved with the material of the blade. So it's a composite material, a resin together with fiber, and there is a huge challenge for recycling those blades. And it's a very good example of a materials development which is safe and sustainable by design, because in the resin you can have additives which have to be replaced because they will be banned. The fiber can be a bio-based fiber, but then the resin, the composite itself, it's a huge challenge to have a new material which can be recyclable. The wind sector at the moment is prioritizing in recycling, finding a way to recycling those blades. But I think we should really push the design part, new resin, new chemistry to be able to have them, the composites for blades, recyclable.
Thank you. So member states, the blades, well, I think they're very much present in our lives. They might not be a consumer product, but we all see them, don't we? And we all have views on them as well. So I think it's a really, really good message if we could push the design of the recyclability and reusability of the materials. So, Carlos.
To be short, regarding those that are missing there, I would say all that which names are not in that list, and that are willing to actively collaborate. So the two things. So as I said, we need to involve everybody, we need to engage everybody. So from our side, and I'm sure from when I say our side, everybody that wants to actively be engaged in the initiative will have its opportunity and will be very much welcome. I'd like to highlight a group that was mentioned already, but I think it's very special. In my intervention, when I was answering your question, I mentioned that it's a big challenge for the stakeholders, for our stakeholders. I think also it's a big challenge for the public side. And it was mentioned to involve with the Commission, with member states, but let me tell you, we need to be involved also very much the national and regional level, because some of these challenges, we need to act also at regional level very actively. So these really are stakeholders that we have to involve now, and we have to share this work with them. Regarding the selection of I'm sure that there are some conditions that point out to some sectors that have a big potential to be big pilots. But I always like to combine potential with will and capability. And I will not discharge a sector that eventually doesn't seem such a high potential, but comes out with a strong will to do something concrete. And so I don't think this one should be left to a second stage. So for me, if there is a strong will, because as we mentioned, we need to do that. It's not one or two sectors or three sectors. This needs to go across sectors. So if you have a sector with high potential and will, of course, we should give a priority to these ones because they will have a faster impact. If we have sectors that have a strong will, I think we should embrace them also. Thank you.
Hello. Thank you, Jose Carlos. I think one of the questions on Slido actually will probably, tease you into wanting to answer this, because one of the questions is about the food, the steel, and the wooden products industry, and whether they should actually be included. But we'll come to that a bit later. I'll now give the floor to Amaya for her take on the
Thank
questions.
you very much. During the edition of the manifesto, we have involved to the steering committee of EUMAT and Alliance for Materials. Now we have to go and step forward and to involve all the platform members, that is more than 900 members. Then we have to get the feedback also, and also I think important to have the vision of the member states, and also to facilitate through the dissemination. We are thinking in an event with national platform in Spain on November, 14th of November, and 15th will be the Parlet event, and also during the Warsaw conference in Warsaw to try to promote the manifesto, and also to approach the citizen. And for that, it will be also approaching some non-governmental members that we are elaborating a list for doing that, and also students. We think that students' representative could be a good way to promote this manifesto and to get the feedback of the young people, because they will be the future of our society, and it's important that they are engaged from the beginning. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Amaya, for that. I know that a lot of people in the room here will be very happy to hear your intervention, that they should be involved already now. This is one of the side events subject matter that was dealt with yesterday, and there was a lot of enthusiasm about this, about exactly this point, what our education system should do at the earlier stages as well to really, really involve European youth and make them really European in their thought and way of life and in the choices they make. Okay, so thank you for being telegraphic. We now go to Slido, as we have promised. So I have here still top of the leaderboard 2 questions. The European Commission is the body that shall or does take the initiative. What kind of action will be taken by the European Commission to implement the AMI 2030? And the other leaderboard question is, for the setting up and execution phases of the AMI 2030, is there an idea of what kind of instrument could be used to implement it? Partnership, other. Basically, we're asking the sort of same type of question. We're trying to probe into the future and, okay, immediate future, I would say. We did say already, Lars mapped out what the next steps are in this journey. And he did say, you know, that it's already been planned that there will be multi-stakeholder consultation at the member states level as well. So there's a lot of, you know, waves coming up of consultation. But also maybe, you know, the people who are here have taken on the responsibility. They have come together. They have taken the initiative. They have put together a vision, an action plan. But there could also be other sectors that could be joining up because there is a potential, as has already been said. So I would say it's a bit early days, isn't it, to just already decide that it's just a partnership that we're going to be doing, another one, or another instrument. It is an initiative, it is a call for action, but let's take its time. I think let's pace into it. But this is my take, and I am the European Commission. I'm not representing the official line. I'm just saying this is the way that we have sort of conceived this, I would say. But I would be also curious to hear what the opinion of the panel is. Who would like to start? Lars.
I think we are too early to define what kind of partnership or what kind of instrument we're going to use, because there are a lot of instruments already being used, and some have a name, of course, and when we speak about these names, maybe some people have some perceptions, other people have different perceptions. I think what is really the thing is the commonalities, is the common grounds. So I think really to have an inclusive way forward, to include more engaged people, will be then forming the instrument that we need to establish. So I don't think we should focus too much on the instrument right now. It will be a consequence of the work forward.
Are there any other opinions in the panel?
Yeah, I just want to agree with that. I think what is really important here is that it's inclusive, right? Include as many applications and markets as possible, and that's also to the question of, you know, steel and wood that I see there. I think it's really important that there is good governance, and it's really important that we prioritize on the right things, which is coming through that good governance. How that needs to be done, I think, you know, what the instrument's going to be, that is really the work that this group has to do together with the Commission over the next probably 6, 9, 12 months to land this in the right spot that makes it efficient and that actually ensures that, you know, there is going to be real results coming from this type of initiative.
Any other views? Maybe Amaya, yes.
Yes, I think that the partnership that has been commented is an option, but it's important to pull the private part of this initiative. That means that if there is a strong private part that would like to push this initiative, they will have the advantage to commit the public and private part in terms of driving the future. Then it is a solution, a very good solution for the materials community, but we need a very important support in that case of the industry in going to this direction, and I think that this will be discussed in the near future.
Thank you. Yes.
Just a comment on the second one, as you mentioned before. As I said, many future looking at the whole set of industrial sectors. So in theory, it will be a bit tricky for us to be, selecting some sectors, not adding. Well, first, these were already decided, actually, as we joined, because these sectors were selected in the manifesto phase. And were selected precisely because, and this is well justified in the document, because they have a very strong potential to implement these kind of things. what it's clear for us, and I tried to mention, is that the other ones, in our opinion, they are not out. It's just that they need to come up also. And if they come up with good proposals, with good ideas, with good implementation plans, with a high potential and a strong will, because again, for me, the strong will is sometimes even more important than the potential. I'm sure they will be also included. So that should be clear, at least from our side. Thank you.
Thank you, Jose Carlos. Are there any other views about other sectors in the panel? Because this was a question from Slido as well. Maybe anybody else wants to come in on this? Yeah. On the other sectors? Maybe Anne-Chloé?
Well, I think we should, there is quite a lot of overlap with other initiatives, but it doesn't take off the need to have an inclusive platform. So we should involve as many sectors as possible. Now, which form this is going to take is going to be complicated, I think. What we need is a good governance and an efficient way of moving forward, basically.
I tend to agree. Governance, I think, is going to be a key challenge. I think one or two speakers mentioned in their remarks that, because this is a new way of dealing with the issue, coming together, putting down the silos, working in a more sort of joined up manner, somebody has to be overlooking this. And that means a new form of governance where there's a lot of trust and a lot of monitoring going on and, really keeping to what we have agreed at the beginning and also changing and adjusting along the way if there needs to be adjusting. But somebody has to be also monitoring the whole process and governing it. Okay. There is another question that got quite a number of votes, if you like, and it says, what about sobriety to limit our footprint and reduce environmental degradation? 5 out of 7 planetary limits are reached, and there is an urgency to reduce. Probably they are referring to the IPCC report, which has reminded us about this just in recent days, actually. What is the view of the panel on this? I think it's saying the obvious. Of course, there's an urgency to reduce. But how do you see it from your point of view, from the point of view of the materials and the advanced materials?
Well, Eric, I think this topic
Sorry.
is linked with the society and citizens. Sobriety will come from them. If we take the example of waste collection, citizens have a lot to do with sobriety. It's not like an agenda on advanced materials, which will help better waste collection.
Mm-hmm. Eric?
Yeah, I would like to add, this is a really complex topic. I think we could talk about it for a day. A couple things that go through my mind. We have to be thinking about all citizens, not just rich European citizens, right? Sobriety cannot mean that we are not allowing other parts of the world to get to the living standard we have. That will never work. So I think technology is actually the solution to give everybody the same lifestyle without using more materials, actually using less. Less is more. My example of the trucks was a good example. You can consume 40% less fuel by applying a few electronics components. If you can make a coating that is only 1 micron instead of 100 micron and achieves the same target, you use the same benefit, you use 100 times less material. If you can have a steel structure that has less weight, you use less material. So I think we really need to think like that. It's very, very important. If we can recycle, of course, we can use the same material again. We don't have to use again fossil resources, etc. So I think that is the direction in my mind. It's not to ask the citizens to change their lifestyle too much. That's not going to work.
It's about also engineering by design.
Absolutely.
Sustainably. Yeah,
absolutely.
By design.
Yeah.
So it's not only for the chemical industry. There were 2 questions which are interesting, and I think it's worth that the panel comments about this. Lorraine Byrne has asked about how can we ensure opportunities for materials in healthcare are also prioritized on the roadmap, where the emphasis is predominantly on climate and digitization. That is one. And the other one is, I think a very pertinent one as well, is the roadmap a living document? Is it possible to contribute to it? Who would like to comment? Alas.
I think we have emphasized that what we have now is a draft. So it is the whole idea is to get more ideas, more things to be included, more actors to come and contribute with their opinions about this. So for sure, I mean, the roadmap as it is now is a draft, and it will be updated, it will be more developed, it will be further advanced, etc. with time. I think what we present today was what we presented today. That is what we presented today. That is one document, so to say. And then the real final product will come later. So for sure, yes.
Okay, maybe we can say how they can do that, how they can contribute.
It's true to get engaged in now through the website that we announced. So send a comment, send a note, and then you will be contacted by this engagement platform that will enable all of us to be engaged and incorporated.
Thank you, Lars. And I would like to address this mostly to the young people who really want to get into the grind of the work. So you have an opportunity here.
Yes, there is also an email address to send comments and send contribution. Then it will be possible to update the document with the information obtaining. And also there is a link that will be distributed to the participants where you can see the manifesto. It's a link created by the European Commission, and then it is possible for you to see the manifesto as well. And concerning the health, the application of health, the market innovation, I think that the priorities in this way can be related to the environment, could be to reduce the waste, to inertize the waste that is generated in medical issues is an important point in relation with the environment. But for the body, biocompatibility of biomaterials are the most important thing, how avoid the infection in the body during the operation, how to construct device for health application. But you have in the manifesto all detailed priorities that has been addressed, and in order to also to contribute in the best way you can in terms of enriching this already contribution. But all the priorities has been designed and supported by benefits to the environment when it's possible, but also for society. And for society, in health application, durability of the implants, for example, is a very important issue because it also affects the change of the implants in the body, and then you will have not to suffer pain for this. Then, in my point of view, to solve the materials issues, it's very important to increase durability and also monitor the durability during the use of the materials in order to reduce the waste.
Eric.
I would like to add a comment about transversality, right? It's really important that we are going transversal, and that's what this initiative is about. So I'm a bit surprised by some of the questions. Is healthcare included? Is wood included? Is steel included? The reality is that the solution that you need, the advanced solution, to make that implanted medical device, or to build a smartphone, or to build an efficient EV may actually be the same. And I think that's what this is about. Can we find those common threads across all those markets, fully inclusive, so that we can be very efficient when we do that very resource-intensive complex step to design those new materials from blue sky research all the way to the market. So those commonalities, that's really what we're looking for here.
Thank you very much. I'm afraid we have to now bring this very lively discussion to a close. I really thank all the panelists for their very, very active engagement, and also for taking on the responsibility and for being very attractive, I think, to make us feel the responsibility to continue also with them this road towards much more of a looking for commonalities and common solutions. So, a round of applause, please, to the speakers. From our point of view, from the Commission's point of view, we're very happy to engage further, starting with the authors of the roadmap, the new stakeholders, and importantly, the member states. And of course, I would like to close by highlighting also the Commissioner Gabriel attaches high importance to the work done by all the authors of the Materials 2030 roadmap, and she will also continue to engage with you. I know that there has been a tweet, I think, that Commissioner Gabriel has prepared, and there you have it in front of you. A strong European materials ecosystem is essential to realize our vision of a sustainable, inclusive European society. I welcome the Materials 2030 roadmap. Institutions and private actors must advance together to make an impact. I invite further engagement of a wider R&I community. So there you have it. She's very much in agreement. So we have the opportunity, the time window is there. It will quickly also close. So let's act together. Thank you so much and have a good morning. Bye.
And thanks to Joanna Dijk and all the speakers. Thank you very much. At 10:30, the parallel session will begin. On the program today, Technology for Industry 5.0, here in this amphitheater. Safe and sustainable design in room Chrome 1. Critical and strategic materials, Titan 2. And fourth session, resilient values chain in the face of international alliances, Chrome 4. And now it's time to the break. 30 minutes. It's a break. Thank you very much.